Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Houston Sharpshooters Draft the Glory franchise mode here in NHL 22. So in the last episode, we took on the Calgary Flames in the first round of the playoffs, and we didn't really think that we were going to be able to beat them because they won 56 games in the regular season, while we only won 46. But somehow, despite having a 10-win differential difference, we managed to actually beat them in a 6-game series, I think it was, wasn't it? Because I recorded this episode literally yesterday. It was a 6-game series, but we got 3 overtime wins, and for some reason we decided to start Soderstrom more than Benson, and Soderstrom did a lot better than Benson did in a little bit longer of a time. So we are probably going to start Benson for the second round just because obviously he's the higher paid goalie. He's an 85. But if Benson can't really keep his act together, we could always play Soderstrom again just because Soderstrom got us through the first round. And we also had a couple clutch players that helped us in those overtime situations. We kind of got outscored, I think, almost in that series too, because we lost 4-0, then we won 7-6, then we lost 5-1, and then we won 3-2, 5-4, and 3-2. So it was a very offensive series for both teams. We gave up way too much goals, I'd say, almost to an extent, because we do have a lot of minus players, but we did get our big guns going in that first round, which is good. We just need to keep it going into the second round, because like Jaskalainen, for example, Burns, Hedman was really good in the first round. If those guys could continue to produce, we could be a very good team. But guys like Gene Thornton need to wake up a little bit because he only had 1 goal in that series, so we need him to start scoring more. And we need to start playing a little bit better defensively because you can see here we have a lot of guys that are minus on this team. Only a couple plus players, and those are these 4. Also, Jacobs had 2 game-winning goals out of his 3 goals that he scored in these playoffs so far. So maybe this guy's a very clutch player, and that would be something we need him to do in the second round. And as I was saying, Soderstrom has been really good so far. Benson was really terrible in his 2 starts that he played, but we will give him a shot in Game 1 again just to see if he could kind of bounce back from last round or not. Because the Edmonton Oilers shouldn't be as tough of a team here in the second round. Like they might be to an extent if their top guys could get going. But they have the worst depth I've ever seen on a roster, I think, other than my drafted glory teams, to be honest, because you look at this like center depth, really good center depth. But then you look at guys like Norm Boyce, who's really good. He scores a lot, but he's also getting paid a lot of money. And same guys with Hull, he's making over $12 million. You got guys like Pekka, I believe, making, $5 million. So, like, the asset management on his team is not really that good because you got guys like Muir, who's in the lineup, that really shouldn't be. You got Chubarov, you got De Silva, who could maybe even be like a depth forward. And then defensively, you can see that they take a huge hit because of the cap situation. They do have a solid top 2 pairing, but they're basically their top 4. And Samard and Vero is very weak. Samard's more of a top 6 defenseman, and Vero's dropped off a cliff. And then they also still have Eakin and Peluso, who are both like kind of NHL fringe defensemen. So very bad defensive core, but they do have a solid goaltender and a very weak backup. So I don't really know what to make of this team because like if we could kind of shut down like Boyce and Hawley especially, I think we could beat them. But if for some reason we let goals in by Boyce and Hawley, then I think that's where we put ourselves in a bad situation and we might not win. But I think we probably have the better roster because we probably have better overall throughout our entire lineup. Even on our forward core, you can see that basically our fourth line might be a little bit weaker than theirs, and our third line has a little bit of weak players, but we have a lot of 80s still throughout our lineup. So I think our forward core might be a slight bit better, maybe around the same. And then you can see defensively we're much better built than they are defensively, and goalie-wise we are pretty much the same in terms of starting goalie, but backup goalie in Soderstrom is definitely a lot better than that 69 overall goalie. So we are going to start Benson for Game 1 though and see how he does, and if he gets us the loss, then we'll turn back to Soderstrom and see if Soderstrom can continue what he did in the first round. But anyways, let's get into Game 1 of Round 2 as we take on another Alberta team looking to get to the conference finals. We took out the Flames in 6. Can we take out the Oilers now en route to the conference finals? Let's see what happens here. Game number 1 in Edmonton. First period, 2-1 us. I'll definitely take that. Burns scores again. So Burns has been really scoring a lot of goals in the playoffs so far. He's gotten out 6 goals in 7 games, I think. I don't know if the reason being is because he's like on the first line power play with like Jaskalainen and stuff like that or what, but he's been scoring a lot more than he normally does in the playoffs. Jaspers didn't tie the game up, but Forster restores the lead for us, which is good. He hadn't scored yet, I don't think. He was picking up more assists than anything in the first round. Shots are 14-10 in favor of us, and it's a 2-1 game. Second period, 4-1. Let's go. Exactly the offense I need to see from this team against a very weak defensive team. Jääskeläinen scores a shorthanded goal to make it 3-1, and then Forster scores again, and it's now 4-1 going into the third. Shots are 23-21 in favor of us. Let's just lock this one down. Maybe get a few more goals if we really want to, but let's just lock this one down at least. And this is a much better game from Benson so far, which is great because he didn't have the best first round, like I said. Pekka scores to make it 4-2. That's not great, but it is what it is. Shots are actually pretty close in this game, surprisingly. But obviously we have the better depth and stuff like that. And we're going to win 4-2 in game one. Final shots were 33-30, I think it said, so we outshot them by only a little bit. But a very solid game from Benson and from our forward core. So Burns from Jääskeläinen and Teratukin, Forster from Burns and Teratukin, Jääskeläinen from Burns and Teratukin, and guess what? Forster from Scuderi and Burns. Burns had a 5-point game, or a 4-point game, I think. Yeah, Burns had a 4-point game, and then Teratukin had 3 points, Jääskeläinen had 2 points, Forster had 2 points. So it's pretty much the same people on the score sheet the entire game. But yeah, Chad Burns is having a really good playoff, so I'm really glad that I extended him to a 3-year deal because he's been a very good second line center. He gets first star of the game, Forster the second star, and Jääskeläinen the third. So yeah, Chad Burns having a career playoffs, I think. I mean, I think he has been heating up as of the last 2 years in the playoffs, but he's been really good so far this year. But because he's got 11 points in 7 games. I mean, we haven't had to play tough teams, but we had to play the tough Flames, and he was really good against them. But he should be able to score a lot more against Edmonton because Edmonton's weaker defensively and whatnot. So here we go, game number 2, still in Edmonton. Can we take a 2-0 series lead on the Oilers? First period, 1-0 us. I'll take that for sure. Duclair scores his first ever playoff goal, so that's nice because he's only at 77. So good to see the depth is showing up a little bit. Shots are 12-8 in favor of us. Second period, 2-1 Oilers. That's not good. Boyce and Peluso. So I said to keep Boyce off the score sheet. He manages to score a goal to tie it up. And then Peluso, I don't remember who that is, if that's a fourth liner or what, but he gives the Oilers the lead. Shots are 23-16 in favor of us, but we're down by a goal. So Benson hasn't been his best so far in this game, so we might have to turn to Soderstrom for next one, if we're being honest. Let's see what happens here in the third period. See if we can tie it up. Come on, Jääskeläinen. Come on, Burns. Come on, Thornton. You've only scored 1 goal so far in the postseason, which is kind of questionable. There you go. Pete Pasquale ties the game up at 2. That's nice to see. But yeah, some guys have stepped up, which I haven't expected. Like I said, Jacobs had 2 game-winning goals. But Hawley gives them back the lead, and then Forster restores the tying game. Holy crap. That was a little bit of a scare there. I was just mentioning about how Jacobs was scoring game-winning goals, but anyways, Pasquale tied the game up. Hawley gave them the lead late with 3:36 remaining, but then Forster will tie the game up with 1:39 left. So Forster's off to a really good start here in the second round. Shots are 28 apiece as well, and it's a 3-3 game, so this is anybody's game going into overtime. We just need to find a way to score in OT. We've had 3 OT wins in the first round. Can we get another overtime winner? Let's see. Let's call upon Jacob since he's got 2 game-winning goals and he's not going to score. It's going to be Pekka for the Oilers. So not a good game from Benson, really. So I think I am going to go to Soderstrom, but sucks we lose our first overtime game, I'm pretty sure, of this postseason. So Duclair from Sedin and Petan, Pasquale from Thornton, and then Forster from Burns and Scuderi. 3 stars of the game, all Oilers players as well. So yeah, I think I'm going to turn to Soderstrom from next game, and I need to find a way to get Gene Thornton going because Thornton's only got the 1 goal this postseason, which is not good enough considering I paid him, I forget how much in the offseason, but he's a very important player for this team, so I just don't know why he's only got 1 goal and 3 assists when he's playing with Jääskeläinen, who's point per game. So let's move Scuderi back up to the top line, and I think that's pretty much all we could really do. I mean, I could play Pete Pasquale as the second line center for a random thing and then put Chad Burns up. See how that does. Yeah, you know what? We're going to move Chad Burns up. He's been fantastic so far. I think I'm going to try him on the top line. Even though he's a really good face-off man, I want to try him on... Let's try him on the left side. And just to give our team our best players on the top line and see if that does anything. I don't think it will, but you never know. Burns has been hot. Jääskeläinen's been good. Thornton's the only one that hasn't been, so if Thornton could get going with these two, then that would be really great. And then defensively, I think we're just going to make a flip-flop between Teratukin and Sedin, because Teratukin's more offensive. And yeah, Benson is going to be taken out for Soderstrom, and I hope that Soderstrom can get us the series lead back. And hopefully we can contain the offensive level that guys like Hawley and stuff like that in Edmonton play with. Because if we could contain them, we could definitely win this series. So here we go, game number 3 on home ice this time around. Let's see if we can win 2 home games, because that would be really great. Come on, boys. First period, 2-1 Oilers. Not a great start for Soderstrom in this one. Bengtsson scores, so it's 75 overall scores. But then Boyce and De Silva score for them. Like I said, we need to be able to contain Boyce, and so far, when Boyce has scored, we haven't been able to contain them really. Shots are 14-12 in favor of us, but it's a 2-1 game for the Oilers. Can we tie this game up in a second? No, we cannot. Still 2-1. That's not good. Shots are 28-19 in favor of us, so their goaltender's having a very good game. It's been a solid game from Soderstrom, not the best game so far, but I'm really hoping that we could tie this up in the third period. Let's see what happens here. Can we get a game-tying goal, please? And no, we can't yet. Jaspers makes it 3-1. That might be all she wrote in this one. Yep, De Silva makes it 4-1. That's not good. Our offense is dried up since game 1. I need to find a way to get it going again. Hawley makes it 5-1. But yeah, I need to find a way to get Gene Thornton to score. I'm going to move Burns back to the second line. Pekka makes it 6-1 as Benson got put in late. Not good. Our goaltending has still been an issue in these playoffs. Our defense has definitely been an issue. His only goal was Bengtsson from Sedin. When a 75 overall is your only goal, that is not good enough. Especially against a team that doesn't have the best offensive depth or defensive depth. So I think we're going to go back to Benson, though, for sure in this game. But I am going to move Burns back to the second line because he didn't do well up there. And still, Gene Thornton has been dead quiet. So we need to find a way to get Thornton going. Because 1 goal in 9 games in the playoffs is not good. How is he in terms of the power play? What could we do here? Let's move Scuderi up, move Thornton to the point. And yeah, we'll run with something like that. Sedin can't play forward, obviously. Yeah, I'm going to have to take Sedin off the power play. And we will throw in... Who's not on the power play that should be? We could give Pete Pasquale some power play time. Or Jacobs isn't on the power play, actually. Let's give Jacobs some power play time since he had a couple game-winning goals. So we'll do something like that. So Jacobs, Petain, and Forster. And then, yeah, the top line. Thornton's going to the point instead. Scuderi's jumping to the top unit. And I think that is good. Hopefully that helps out the team a little bit. Because we need to find any way to get Gene Thornton to start scoring. Because if he doesn't, that is not good. Yeah, I guess I could do something like that too. Change up the penalty kill lines a little bit. Yeah, let's do something like that. That's good. Perfect. A little bit of changes throughout our lineup, and we're going to return back to Vic Benson and see if Benson can tie up the series, because if we lose this game, then we're going to be down 3-1 headed back to Edmonton, which is not good. Like I said, I think our team definitely has a better roster than the Oilers, but I feel like it could go either way in terms of who wins the series and who doesn't. So here we go. Game number 4. Can we tie the series up at 2 apiece headed back to Edmonton? Come on, guys. We could do this. First period, 2-1 Oilers again. Not good. Pekka scores 2 goals, but then Burns gets back on the board, which is good. It's a 2-1 game for the Oilers after 1. Shots are 10-8 in favor of them, so not the greatest start to the game for Benson. Hopefully he can clean that up a little bit in the second period. Second period, 4-2 us. Let's go. That's a great period. Bengtsson, Pasquale, and Forster. 3 guys that I would say don't score that often, but they have been scoring in this series. All of them have already had goals in the series before this game, so that was a really good period from our depth scoring, because that wasn't the top 6, unless Pasquale is still in the top 6. I'm 100% sure of that. Shots are 20-19 in favor of us. It's a 4-2 game. Let's just get some insurance and lock this one down if we can, please. But, yeah, that was a really good second period. Lucic makes it 5-2. That's his first goal of the playoffs, I think. So the fourth line finally comes through, because I think that's where he is in our lineup, right? I'm pretty sure. But he hadn't scored yet. 5-2 game. Final few minutes of this one, and we are going to lock it down. 6-2. Jacobs gets an empty netter, and we have tied the series back up at 2. This feels like a series that could go 7 games, to be honest. So despite having been down 2 goals early on, Burns then gets a goal from Pasquale and Forster, then Bankston from Patan and McGrattan, Pasquale from Sedin and McGrattan, Forster from Scuderi and Burns, Lucic from Sador and Sedin, and Jacobs from Patan. So Sedin had like 3 assists in that game, I think. Him and McGrattan, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't want to go to the Oilers, goddammit. No, they had 2 points. A lot of 2-point players in that game, though. Like, the depth scoring on the roster in that game was actually really good. The only line that did not get a plus was the top line. Or, well, Thornton and Jaskline, at least, and then Hedman and Teratukin. Everybody else was plus 1 to plus 3. So that's really good to see our depth showing up. And then Vec Benson had a very solid game, so he's definitely going to start next game. Forster gets first star, though. Pasquale the second star, and Burns the third. Pretty good. Definitely a good way to bounce back from a 6-1 loss. And now we go back to Edmonton and see if we could take a 3-2 series lead here. We're going to definitely keep with Benson since he was really good in that last game. But yeah, if for some reason he loses or gets blown out of the water, we could turn to Soderstrom again if we really need to. Okay, let's see what happens in game number 5. We're not going to make any other line changes just because that was a good game. Let's see if we could take a 3-2 series lead. First period of game number 5. And it is 2-1 Oilers. Not good. Burns opens the scoring for us, but then 2 goals from Boyce. Seems like we always give up 2 goals at least in the first period. Because that's been like the 3rd or 4th game, I think, of the series so far that's already had that scoreline multiple times. Shots are 15-12 in favor of the Oilers, so we're kind of getting outplayed. So hopefully our offense could get a little bit back in this. Second period, tie game. Let's go. Jacobs scores. Jacobs been actually a pretty good player in these postseasons so far. Like, I wasn't really expecting him to do really that much considering he's only an 80 overall, but he does score a good amount of goals. I believe that's like his 5th goal or 6th goal of the postseason already, so he's outscoring like Gene Thornton right now, which is kind of a big surprise. Shots are 24-18 in favor of us. It's a 2-2 game going into the 3rd. Can we get the lead here and get the lead in the series? Let's see what happens. Come on, boys. Power play opportunity. It's a 4-on-3. We do not convert. They get a power play opportunity of their own, and we kill it off. Nicely done. Come on, boys. Who do I want to call upon? Burns or Jaskalainen? Maybe one of the top guys. Maybe even Gene Thornton, because he's only got the 1 goal still. I don't know why he's been so streaky as of late. And we are going to be going to a double overtime situation. Or actually, no, this is the first overtime, right? Was that just the 3rd period? Yeah, that was just the 3rd period. Man, my brain is scrambled a little bit, but it's still a tie game, 2-2. Shots are 32-29 in favor of us. We go to OT again. Who do I want to call upon for overtime? Who hasn't scored in a while? Let's call upon Teratukin because I haven't had really much goals from our back end, I think, in this postseason so far. Come on, boys. Who wants to be that OT hero? Sedin, Teratukin, and it's going to be an Oiler. It's going to be Pekka. Damn it. And we're down 3-2 in the series. Yeah, this is definitely one of those series that could go 7 games. If we win next game, at least we'll go to the game 7. But I really want to get to the conference finals if we can again. So Burns from Pasquale and Sedin, and then Jacobs from Patan and Sedin. That really sucks. Benson was pretty solid in that game, I'd say again. But yeah, Boyce had 2 goals, and he might be the difference maker in the series. I don't think I've seen Hawley score that much. But Boyce has definitely been their best player. Not the greatest scoreline, and then a solid game from Benson, but I think I'm going to give Soderstrom next game. Just because Benson needs to have a day off, it seems like, after a win or something like that. So let's go back and make some line changes to try and get ourselves to a game 7. Burns has still been our best player in this postseason, over point per game so far. But yeah, let's move Jacobs up because Jacobs has been scoring a good amount of goals, so we'll move him to the top line to play with Thornton and Jaskalainen. Scuderi can play with Burns and Forster, and then Pasquale, Patan, and do we play Lucic or Duclair? Let's do Lucic for a change since he scored recently. Wait, do we have even 4th line center? Sador doesn't take face-offs, really. We should be actually playing a guy that could win face-offs down there. So you know what? We're going to move Pasquale all the way back down. which is unfortunate, but I am going to try and get our center depth back to the way it was. Apparently my batteries are almost low, so hopefully they don't die, but I'll have to change them if that is the case. And then in terms of defense, that second pairing, especially McGrattan, has been terrible, plus minus Y, so let's move him to the top unit. And then we'll play Sedin and Hedman on the second pairing. And then, yeah, like I said, I think we're going to turn to Soderstrom for the next game, just to see if that could help us get to a Game 7 situation. But, yeah, that should be good, I think. But, yeah, I really need Gene Thornton to start scoring. Because to have 32 goals in the regular season and only 1 in the playoffs, like, he doesn't show up as frequently as somebody like Jääskeläinen does in the playoffs. And I gave him, like, a $13 million contract, so I might be overpaying for him right now, to be honest. But anyways, let's get into Game 6 and see if we could tie this series up at 3 apiece and force a Game 7 back in Edmonton. We'll have to do a real-time simulation for this entire game, but let's see if we could force Game 7. We just need to rely on Soderstrom and hope that he could do so and play good, and hopefully our defense could play a little bit better than it's been playing so far in this playoffs. And hopefully our offense comes through with some goals. So real-time simulation, we're underway in the first period here on home ice, looking to force a Game 7. Let's get some goals early, not from you though. Turcotte scores to make it 1-0 Edmonton. He hadn't scored yet, I don't think, in the series, so that's not good. Power play opportunity, we do not score. We don't have really a whole lot of shots through this first period, but Lucic is going to tie the game up at 1. Let's go, Lucic. I move him up in the lineup, and he manages to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Shots are 12-7 in favor of the Oilers after 1. Let's see what happens in the second period, see if we can get that lead. Since we just tied the game up, no, we can't. Jaspers gets the lead for the Oilers, but Duclair answers right back, so the depth scoring is showing up. But Jaspers scores again for the Oilers, but Patain answers back. Damn, this is a really offensive game. I don't know how we have 3 goals on 11 shots. Duclair scores again. What the heck? I was not expecting a 77 to score 2 goals in a crucial game like this, but I'll take it. 4-3 game. We have 4 goals on 12 shots. So I don't really know how we're winning this game. They have 3 goals on 22 shots, so Soderstrom has been kind of keeping us in this game, but then our offense has been scoring on our chances, so I like the fact that we're managing to score a lot of goals on House again. Showed that he's not that great of a goalie. Let's see what happens in the third period, see if we could hold on to this lead here and get some insurance. Penalty kill, nicely done. Come on, boys. Oh, Holmstrom ties the game. That's not good. And then Muir gives them the lead. Yeah, we're going to lose this game, right? Or are we going to tie it up again? This is not good. Not enough shots in this game. Can we tie it up, please? Yes, we can. Sidor scores. I believe Sidor actually played with the Oilers at one point, so that's kind of surprising. It's a 5-5 game. Shots are 31-24 in favor of the Oilers. We're going to overtime. If they score, they win the series. If we score, we force a Game 7 back in Edmonton. Who do I want to call upon? I honestly have no idea. Let's see what happens in overtime and see if we can survive another day. I don't know how we have 5 goals on 24 shots. We're just scoring on our chances, which is great, but we definitely need to get more opportunities too on net. Come on, boys. We're getting a lot more shots in this overtime. It seems like we're going to score, and it's Bengtsson, the 75 overall, has forced a Game 7. This has been a really interesting second round. I was not expecting to win that game. It was very back and forth. They scored, then Lucic scores from Duclair. Then Duclair scores from Patain. Then Patain scores from Lucic. Then Duclair again from Pasquale and Lucic. And Sidor from Patain and Umberger. And Bengtsson from Schutz and Sedin. So our depth scoring showed up that game, and our top 6 did not. But they managed to force a Game 7. This third line of Lucic, Duclair, and Patain comprised for 9 points, which I was not expecting. And somehow we managed to win the game with our top 6 not scoring. Yeah, Gene Thornton has been abysmal in this playoff run so far. Like, I feel like demoting him down the lineup, but... And a good win from Soderstrom, even though he didn't play that great. He allowed 5 goals on 41 shots. But we managed to score a ton of goals. We scored 6 goals on 31 shots on House. He had an 806, so he was very bad in that game. First start of game, Duclair. Second start, Lucic. And third start, Patain. So that third line really just came out of nowhere because I was not expecting them to have 3 points each in that game. But we're going to a Game 7, which I think I'm going to go back to Benson since he got a day off, and Soderstrom was not really that great in that win. Like, we kind of luckily got by. And yeah, the forward core is going to stay the same. Yeah, both of them are really not been that good so far. Both have around identical save percentages and goals against wise. So let's go back to Benson for this game, and the rest of the forward core is going to stay the same. And I'm really impressed with this line, though. Wait, is Ernest Petan got 12 points in 12 games? Yes, he does. What the heck? Why is he all of a sudden playing like a god in the postseason? He's been really good. Way better than I expected for 3.6. Huh, interesting. So, yeah, we're going to leave the rest of the lineup the exact same, I think. Unless I want to try Thornton on the second line. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to move Thornton down to the second line, not playing with Jaskalainen, which is the first time that's happened since, like, their rookie years, I'm pretty sure. But Thornton has really been bad, and he needs to find a way to start scoring. So maybe playing with Chad Burns on that second line will generate some offense for him. And we'll keep the rest of the lineup the same. And like I said, we'll play Benson for this Game 7 situation. We're back in Edmonton for Game 7. Can we move on to the conference finals, or are we going to be packing our bags in Game 7? We still don't know who's going to win the other matchup between Dallas and Nashville, because they're also going to Game 7. Let's see what happens. Another real-time simulation. Hopefully Benson can have his best playoff game yet. And they're going to score early, which is not good, but we get a power play immediately afterwards. And it's a long one. We do not convert, though. Holiday scores the only goal so far. Penalty kill, nicely done. Can we tie this game up, please, boys? At least we're keeping course on shots with them this time around. But yeah, I hadn't seen Holly score since like Game 4, I think it was, or 5. So he scores in a Game 7 situation. That's not great. Shots are 13-10 in favor of the Oilers. It's a 1-0 lead for them. Let's see if we can tie it up in the second period. Come on, boys. We definitely need to score the next goal if we can. Power play. No goals. That's not good. Come on, guys. There we go. Jaskalainen ties the game up. Jaskalainen is always the type of guy that come through in the clutch games, it seems like. But he didn't really show up last game, so maybe it's just when it matters in Game 7 situations or whatnot. I don't know. But the shots are 25-20 going into the third. It's a 1-1 game, so this is a pretty even game for the most part. We're ouching them by only a little bit. It's 1-1. It's anybody's game going into the third. Let's see what happens. See if we could get that lead and if we could get that series win. Come on, boys. And Silvergard scores early. That's not good. God damn it, Benson. Can we tie it up, though? We tied it up last time around. We didn't have a lot of shots. Come on, guys. Come on. Just get me another goal and get this game to overtime. Petan, Bengtsson, somebody? Burns? Yes, Teratukin. Oh, my goodness. Teratukin with a huge late goal in Game 7. He had not scored, I believe, this entire playoff run so far. But it's a 2-2 game. Shots are 34-30 in favor of us. Teratukin forces overtime with 1:30. Let's go. Was not expecting that. Game 7, overtime. It doesn't get really much any better than this. Next goal goes on to the conference finals. Who wants to be that guy? I don't know. Let's see what happens. Could be literally anybody almost. Bengtsson even. Power play opportunity in overtime. We do not score. Another power play. We do not score again. And then we're going to score. Let's go. After the 2 power plays, it's Chad Burns. Let's go. And we somehow managed to knock out the Oilers. They gave us a lot more of a tougher task than I expected. And we're going to the conference finals for the first time since we went to the cup finals like 4 years ago, I think it was, or 5. Oh, man. Late goal from Teratukin for the dramatics and in the game winner. That's awesome. So Jaskalainen from Duclair and Teratukin from Thornton. So Thornton gets an assist, and then Burns from McGrattan and Thornton. So Thornton picks up 2 assists since getting demoted to the second line, so that's really good. And yeah, Benson had his best playoff game yet, I'd say. He gets first start, Teratukin the second, and Burns the third. But we're going back to the conference finals, which is great. Farther than last year, even though we lost Kapitanov and Yip in the offseason. So we're technically the cheese team for sure. We just barely made it into the playoffs in a sense because we were one of the wild card spots. And now we're in the conference finals against the Nashville Predators, which is crazy. Let's take a look at our player stats throughout the first 2 rounds, and then we'll take a look at the Preds lines and kind of see what they've been up to this season so far in the playoff-wise. But yeah, Burns 16 points in 13 games. He's been fantastic. Jääskeläinen has actually been kind of quiet in that second round. 9 points in 13 games. He's under point per game for one of the first times in his playoff career. But still 121 points. Really good. Petan's been a really pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting him to pick up 12 points in 13 games. But here he is. So very good season so far from Petan in the playoffs. The depth scoring is actually really starting to show up, it seems like. 7 points from Pasquale. Really good. Forster, 7 points. Jacobs, 6. Lucic, 6. Thornton, 6. So, yeah, Thornton still needs to pick up his pace. Because when Jacobs, Forster, and Lucic even are outscoring him, even Duclair's outscoring him in terms of goals, that's a bit problematic. Because Duclair is still, I believe, on his ELC, while Thornton is making $13 million. And then Sador, 4 points. So, yeah, our depth scoring is actually showing up, which is great. Scuderi, 8 points, and Bengtsson has 3 goals. He's a -5, but still. And then defensively, Sedin really showed up. 9 points now, 8 points for Teratukin, 6 from McGrattan and Hedman. So Hedman had no points in the second round, but points in the first round, which is interesting. And then Schutz and Umberger have just been a defensive combination, seems like. And then goalie-wise, Soderstrom and Benson both haven't been the best, but we're on to the conference finals somehow. So I won't ask how and why, but we're off to the conference finals, which is good. Let's take a look at first, before we actually look at the roster, what Nashville did in the regular season and their playoff stuff, just so we can kind of give a good comparison before we actually see what the roster is. So the Predators won the Central Division, so yeah, so we're going to have to knock out another tough team. We knocked out Calgary. Can we knock out the division winners to get to the Cup finals? That'd be awesome if we could. They scored a lot more goals than us. They scored they scored over 1 more goal than us per game. They scored 317 goals this season for 3.87. We scored 2.84, so our offense is much worse. We were better defensively than them, but then again, we were the best defensive team in the league, 2.7 to 301. So they were actually still a pretty solid defensive team. Power play percentage, they were much better by 11%. Exactly, and my controller just died, so let me change my batteries. Okay, as I was saying, on to their penalty kill. Our penalty kill was better than ours by like 3%, a little under 3%. So we're just a better defensive team, as I was expecting, and they're a better offensive team. But obviously they did have some good stat lines as well in terms of penalty kill and power play. They scored 10 short-handed goals this year opposed to our 3, though, so they might be a little bit lethal on the penalty kill. Let's see how they've been doing so far in the playoff-wise in terms of team stats, because maybe they've been worse in the playoffs or better in the playoffs in certain areas. So they're 8-6. They're scoring 3.21 goals per game. Well, we're scoring 3.38, so we've been better offensively than them so far. They've been better defensively than us, but still not by much. They're giving up actually more goals than they're scoring, which is kind of interesting. Our power play has been way worse, and our penalty kill has been way worse. So I don't know what to make of that. But we're both 7-3 in our last 10 games. Let's take a look at what the roster looks like. We did play them, I'm pretty sure, quite a few years ago, so their roster's probably gone through some decent changes, but you never really know. So Nashville has Connor Hewson, who's an 88 medium elite. He's playing with Keaton Rodney and Jorgen Pedersen, which is another medium elite guy, so very good top line. Second line has Isaac Rosen, Wyatt Johnson, and Marcus Jacobson, so a very solid second line. Third line, Matty Cascaranta, Philip Curry, and Dale Cooper. Very good third line to have an 86 overall down there. And a fourth line of Jamie McDonough, Tyson Forster, and Igor Kabanov. So that forward core is really, really deep and really good. There's a little bit of weakness here with Kabanov, Forster, and Curry, but everything else is really solid, I'd say. And then defensively, they're pretty good. They have Riley and Collins, Tikkanen and Burrows, and Lemaire and Cascarantes. So they don't really have the depth that we do on defense, but they're still good. And then goalie-wise, they do have not the best goalie combination. They have Bickle, who's an 82, and a 66 is the backup in Ashton, which is kind of weird. Depth-wise, they have Jalen Sutter, who's a 76. Miles Konowalchuk is a 78, and Joseph Tillett as a 79. So overall-wise, I'd say they definitely have the upper hand just because they have a very deep forward core, but you never really know when it comes to the playoffs. So the winner of this series will face who in the Cup Finals, Columbus or the Rangers? Interesting. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Houston Sharpshooters Draft to Glory. So in next episode, we will take it to the conference finals as we look to knock out another very tough team and see if we can get ourselves to the Cup finals for the first time in a number of years. So anyways, think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.